And on the sidelines of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's participation at the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, the President met with a number of leading figures of the American society, including journalists, heads of research centers, and intellectuals. The President also discussed with leaders of the Anglican community in New York, building bridges of communication with the different sects of the American society. The President also met with the President of the World Bank, David Malpass, in his residence in New York. Details in this report. On the sidelines of his participation at the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with a number of figures of the American society, including journalists, heads of research centers, and intellectuals. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Rodi said that during the meeting, the President participated in an open dialogue with the participants. The dialogue covered developments in regional issues as well as Egypt's development and reform plans. During the meeting, the President asserted the importance of the Egyptian-American strategic relations and the need to boost them to serve the national security of the two states. The President reviewed Egypt's efforts in combating terrorism. On regional issues, the President said that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict remains one of the main reasons of instability in the region. He called on the international community to support national institutions and seek comprehensive political solutions to the crises in the region. The President also discussed with leaders of the Anglican community in New York, building bridges of communications with the different sects of the American society. They also tackled different challenges that face the two countries. The President expressed Egypt's keenness on setting principles of citizenship and equality and rejecting discrimination on religious basis. The President also met with President of the World Bank, David Malpass, in his residence in New York. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Rodi said that the President welcomed Malpass in his second meeting with him after his visit to Egypt in May as part of his first tour after taking office as head of the World Bank. The President asserted Egypt's keenness to boost fruitful relations with the World Bank in accordance with the Egyptian priorities to support development reform program, which led to improvement in all economic indicators. The meeting covered means of boosting ties with the World Bank in efforts to achieve development in Africa as part of Egypt's efforts as head of the African Union.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi expressed Egypt's keenness to enhance cooperation with the United Nations' various institutions to help maintain international peace and security. President el-Sisi remarks came during a meeting with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in New York on the sidelines of the 74th UN General Assembly. Guterres expressed the United Nations' appreciation for the long and fruitful cooperation with Egypt, praising Cairo's efforts during its presidency of the AU this year. The meeting tackled the latest developments in the regional issues, including efforts to combat terrorism.
Earlier, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi held a meeting with his Portuguese counterpart Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa in New York, where they discussed the legal immigration and latest developments of the Libyan crisis. President el-Sisi praised distinguished ties between Egypt and Portugal and said that Egypt is looking forward to enhancing joint cooperation in various domains. The President also stressed keenness to foster bilateral relations, especially in the fields of shipping, ports, administration and renewable energy, as well as fields of tourism and investments. For his part, the Portuguese President expressed appreciation for Egypt's people and leadership. pointing out to the long-standing ties between the two countries. President el-Sisi also met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in New York. During the meeting, President el-Sisi praised the bilateral relations, especially in the fields of economy, trade and tourism. For his part, the Ukrainian President praised close bilateral relations as well as Egypt's key role in the Middle East and Africa. The meeting also tackled a number of regional files, including Middle East peace process as well as crises in Syria, Libya and Yemen.
And for more details on President's participation in the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, we're joined by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, a former assistant to Foreign Ministry. A very good day, sir. It's a pleasure to have you with us here on RTV International.
Yes, how are you?
Good day, sir. Sir, what are the main issues stressed during President el-Sisi's speech with the General Assembly and his meetings with world leaders?
It was an excellent opportunity, this visit of our president, participating in the meetings of the United Nations General Assembly. Has multi-purposes. Of course, he is there as Egyptian, also as the chair of the African Union, and he was defending the situation in Africa, and he explained quite well how Africa is a poor continent, and it does not take what it deserves. Africa is transferring money to the developed world much more than it gets money, because the African countries are paying their debts, they pay their invoice of imports, and their exports cannot cover those two purposes. And the solution, as the President explained it in several meetings, that we have to increase the investment in Africa with Egyptian experience, and from wherever finance coming from Europe, from China, which explore its interest to do that. In Tokyo also, as the President explained the situation in the TICAD meeting. And I hope that we have positive reaction for this initiative. Another task of the President's meeting is Egypt. We are marketing for Egypt as a country which is becoming more and more open to the world economy. We are members of the World Trade Organization. We are members in the Arab Free Trade Area, the African Free Trade Area, and association agreement with Europe. This means that a producer in Egypt can export their products to a market of more than 2,000 million inhabitants. And this is a good way to attract new investors to come and invest in Egypt. We hope that this system will end with more and more investors coming to Egypt, and Egypt is making its homework also by making our laws and our bureaucracy much better. Our banking system, it needs much more development, transport, services for tourists, Suez Canal. We are doing all this in order to be able to attract more and more investors.
Sir, President el-Sisi is keen on attending the annual UN General Assembly session. This is his 6th participation. How do you read this, sir?
It seems that the President is using this opportunity in order to make as much meetings as he can. Because if you imagine, in 4 days he met more than 40 head of states or head of delegations, and even financial organizations and so on. If we want to make these same meetings in a normal way, it would take months and months. So I am with the idea, the good idea, of our President represent Egypt each year in the General Assembly, because it is a very good opportunity to market for Egypt, market for Africa, to explain the situation, the political and security situation in Syria, in Yemen, in Libya, our efforts to combat organized crime such as drug trafficking, terrorism, and money laundering. All these crimes we are helping the whole world in order to tackle it and to attack it. And we are benefiting from all of this, because I must say that day after another we are enjoying better security life in Egypt. And this is also a way to attract investment and trade for Egypt and for its main partners.
Our Assistant to Foreign Minister, thank you so much for joining us on the phone, and thank you so much for your informative knowledge, sir.
Thank you.
And the Egyptian delegation to the UN has issued a strongly worded response to a statement by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan during his speech before the UNGA. Erdogan on Tuesday renewed his previous call to launch an investigation to the death of Mohamed Morsi, who died of heart attack in prison last June. The Egyptian response was issued in the form of an official letter to the UNGA expressing Cairo's perplexity over Erdogan's persistence on continuing his baseless and flimsy allegations. The letter said that the Turkish leader's allegation pretend to be defending the values of justice, while in reality they express hatred of Egyptian people. The letter added that it was ironic that Erdogan was making such allegations, given his sponsorship of terrorism in the region and his regime's violations against Turkish people.
Minister of Defense General Mohammed Zaki met with students and teaching staff of the Military Technical College on Thursday. Speaking during the meeting, the Minister of Defense said that the armed forces are fully aware of the dangers and challenges facing the nation. For his part, the head of the Military Technical College said that the college works on training its students on dealing with new equipment and armament systems in the different military departments.
Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli headed on Thursday a meeting of the Higher Committee for Nile Water. Attending the meeting were Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation Dr. Mohammed Abdelati, Deputy Foreign Minister Ambassador Hamdi Louza, and representatives of Defense Ministry and General Intelligence. The committee discussed the preparations for the independent scientific group meetings in Khartoum between 30th of September and 3rd of October that will be followed by Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia water ministers meeting in Khartoum on the 4th and 5th of October. The Higher Committee for Nile Water also tackled the importance of joining serious technical negotiation on Egypt's suggestion and any other visions that help in bridging the gaps between different points of views and reaching a fair solution that takes into consideration interests of the three countries.
Minister of Housing Dr. Asim Al-Ghazzar paid a visit on Thursday to the 10th of Ramadan city in Sharqiya Governorate to inspect the implementation of new projects in the city, on top of them social housing units. During his visit, the minister delivers 30 housing units to citizens. The units are part of a social housing project to build 2,200 housing units in 110 buildings at a cost of £383 million. The ministry is working on upgrading the main axes in the 10th of Ramadan city, mainly El Kafrawi and El Rawda squares, in addition to upgrading roads, agriculture, road lights, water network in the western area in the city.
Nile TV International and the French channel TV5 hold joint broadcast on Thursday between 6 and 7 p.m. Cairo local time. Nile TV International will be represented by Nohale and Ayel Shell. The joint broadcast is part of TV5 Special Day on Francophone countries. The 1-hour broadcast will review aspects of Francophone cultural life in Egypt and Egypt's ties with the Francophone countries. Nile TV has similar joint transmissions with China, France, Airlines Kazakhstan, and a number of international world institutions.